Hey guys, welcome into TICKER Cyber, where we encourage you to get on top of your cybersecurity by building cyber fitness into your business right now. And while Cinch is our presenting sponsor of this program, the opinions and statements expressed in the following shows are our own. I'll try and come up with some, although you want to listen to the two sitting next to me, Cinch co-founders Susie Jones and Adam Selwood. Welcome into TICKER News. How are you guys?
Great.
Fantastic.
Thanks for having us.
We were just talking before we jumped on about the fact that cybersecurity has been, it's almost the most topical issue that we've spoken about here over the past 12 months. So maybe let's just briefly start there. Why has that been? There's a lot going on, isn't there?
There's absolutely a lot going on, but it's relevant to everyone. These days, especially following lockdowns, there's so many more people using technologies. Everybody's walking around with a device in their pocket, which is also a computer. You go at home and you've got Nespresso machines that you can order, connect to Wi-Fi and order new pods. And
can you really?
Exactly. So
Wow.
there's just technology everywhere, and with that means that there's cyber risk everywhere.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's so topical, because if you've got Nespresso machines attached to Wi-Fi, then there's going to be some
nothing worse than not being able to get your coffee in the morning.
Exactly
You
right.
saw, I've had two already. You saw that just before. And Adam, what are you looking forward to getting into and really discussing through this program?
Yeah, definitely. There's so much out there. Cyber is one of those super overwhelming aspects of risk, and trying to wrap your head around all of that. And so we're all about trying to break that down, make it talk about it in plain language, really break down the things and make it practical for people so that they can get something out of it.
Yep.
So I'm really looking forward to talking about some of the topical stuff that's going on, exploring that space and just making it relevant and solvable for people, because it can be overwhelming at the best of times.
Yeah, it can be, but as you say, it really touches all of us, including people with coffee machines. So guys, whether you're running a small team, growing a startup, supplying a massive multinational corporate, or just trying your hardest to stay on top of things yourself, the Cinch team will keep you on top of today's threats so that your business will continue to grow for tomorrow. So it's hard to know where to start because there are so many things we could talk about, but maybe let's talk about the lockdown here in Australia and what we've seen now. That's affected all business. So how does that link into cyber threats, cyber security? Is it becoming more of an issue because of what we're seeing?
It's absolutely changed the risk for all businesses. So previously, when the majority of businesses worked out of one location, that meant that they only needed to secure the network in one location. But now, with everybody going home and working from home, they've got laptops on the same network as their Netflix accounts and the same computers that their kids are playing games on. It's just so much more vulnerable, and it's really important to be able to take personal responsibility and make sure that your home life is protected from anybody trying to attack your business, but also your business is protected from the kids on the computer and anything that they might be downloading. So it affects everybody so much more now following all of the lockdowns.
And do you think, Adam, that, that's clearly the case, but do we know enough about it at the moment? We're going to get into the details of what we can do at some point, but do people know now that it's changed, the risks have gone up, or we don't know too much?
We're still learning.
Yeah.
It's a constantly evolving sort of space and a problem area. But I think what we observed last year was last year everyone had to go into lockdown super quick. Lots of decisions were made, lots of snap choices, moving into that, adopting technologies, just getting things working. And so as a result, there's just a risk that's been introduced as we've gone through that and being brought into our businesses and into our households. And we haven't necessarily grappled with that yet. So there's this thing bubbling along under the surface that is going to rear its head at some stage if it hasn't already for many businesses. And thinking about and sort of planning and preparing and starting to address that is something we'll have to look at. But it's probably going to bubble along. It's the same rate as the vaccine rollout, really. At the end of the day, it's until we get on top of that, until we get an opportunity to sort of stop and think about, what's there and what we can do about it. It's going to continue to be a problem, really.
And our industry doesn't help with this, right? So cybersecurity experts, we speak in a completely different language half the time. This is why we spend so much time translating the advice that's out there into plain language, because our colleagues, we speak about MFA and DMARC and DKIM, and what does that mean to anybody that's just your average business owner just trying to make a living?
So it's your fault.
Exactly. So so we're trying to be part of the solution now rather than the problem, and to translate that and make it really clear that you can actually take control of this risk yourself. There are small, simple things that you can do each day. It doesn't need to take more than 5 minutes at a time to make yourself more what we call cyber fit than what you were the day before.
So before we get to that, let's talk about a really big example, the USA ransomware attack that took hold recently. It was a massive story. story. Break it down for us briefly. What did you see? Was this different to what we've seen in the past?
It was different. It was a bit unique, and there's still a bit of confusion out there. So last Friday, just heading into the long weekend, the Independence Day long weekend over in the US, Friday night US time, all of a sudden, systems start to get locked up with ransomware. So ransomware, for anyone that's not familiar with it, takes control of your computer, basically locks your access out of it and stops you from being able to access the files, and then leaves you a nice little ransom note and asks you to pay for that to get it back. So this was starting to pop up all over the place in the US and around the world, actually. What it turned out was that there was a piece of software that had been installed that was present on on all of these computers, and it was software that was used to allow people to remotely access and support your computer. And it's something that's legitimately in there for IT support providers to actually be able to get in and give you the help that you need.
Yeah.
But that was used as the mechanism to actually get in and lock people's computer up and ransom them. And the news as of today is that there's about 1,500 businesses across the world who have been impacted by this in some shape or form.
Wow.
And now they're asking for $70 million of ransom to unlock everyone's computers, because just practically processing 1,500 businesses' payments is probably a little bit of a stretch for them. So it really goes to show that even those things that we put in place, those technologies that we rely on just to give us some support, can ultimately be the demise and cause of these types of things. So it's a really complicated sort of story, and it's still evolving, but it looks as though they're getting on top of it, and they're starting to get to the bottom of it, which is a good sign.
So guys, let's talk about the recent attack. I mean, we've seen so many, but in the US, this ransomware attack was huge. I guess tell us about what it was. Was it different? And ransomware, what do we need to know about that word?
Yeah, so I mean, this was a bit different to the normal ransomware attack.
Right.
So ransomware as a start is a situation where something gets onto your computer and locks up all the files. So you really just can't get access to them. But what they do leave behind for you is a nice little note just saying, hey, can you pay us some money and we'll give you your files back.
That's nice.
Sounds nice and innocent, doesn't it? You know, it's a really big growing problem.
Yeah.
And at least last weekend, what we observed was a fairly massive attack come out there and affected what we've heard now is about 1,500 odd businesses across the world, and primarily in Europe and the US, but it has gone through and it's gone out there. And unfortunately, this scenario was that it affected a piece of software that was installed on all these computers that are around, and that software is used by IT support providers to actually get in and provide remote support. So really, it's used typically to help you in this type of a situation.
And it's common.
And it's fairly common. It's a really big, well used product around the place. And unfortunately, that software was used to actually put the thing in place that then locked up all the files, and it's just taken down all sorts of businesses all over the place.
Right.
So 1,500 odd businesses across the world really affected of it, and really still grappling from that.
Yeah.
The attackers have now asked for about $70 million to try to unlock everyone's computers. And
nice of them.
yeah, suspect that's probably because they can't really process and handle the payments from 1,500 other little micro payments around the place.
So let's talk about the response, because it was interesting. Joe Biden, America are taking it really seriously. I mean, they'd have thousands of people behind the scenes aware of this, working on it, and then also Australia as well. What links us into this issue as well?
Well, it's definitely something that affects Australians. So any business that was using that exact sort of software could be vulnerable to this. But our Australian Cybersecurity Centre actually put out an alert last week as well. And anything that the ACSC comes out and alerts Australians to it means that we should sit up and pay attention, because ransomware is definitely not just a US problem. It hits hundreds of businesses every day, and it can just create one of the worst days of your working life if you fall victim to it.
And so just with the American response in particular,
Yep.
Joe Biden, it was quite a significant moment for them and response, but how did you see it exactly?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was interesting timing. It really right at the beginning of the Independence Day long weekend.
Yeah,
so
of course.
America immediately felt that this was targeted towards them
Sure.
for some direction. And earlier in the year as well, America had been attacked. Specifically targeted by the Russian government, it's believed, in an attack on the SolarWinds platform. So the US and they've had issues with gas pipelines and all sorts of other things that have been going on recently. So Joe Biden and the US government have been really on the front foot and really setting an expectation on the global stage that this is not acceptable. They will not just take this laying down. And so pretty quickly after this attack emerged over the weekend, we saw Joe Biden get out there and sort of say, if it turns out that this is Russia or someone else having a go at us in particular and trying to bring us down, then we will retaliate and something will happen. Since then, we've learnt, and it's believed now that it was actually probably a criminal organisation that was going out, really just trying to make that $70 million that they're asking for now.
Yep.
Possibly not government related, but it is interesting to see that the posture is changing out there. Governments are really standing up. This is going to continue to be a growing thing that people are going to have to deal with and grapple with. And we would expect in the coming years, we'd also see probably the Australian government start to move towards that posture as well, which would be quite interesting. And I guess watch this space. It doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon.
Absolutely. So let's finish by just talking about what we need to do, whether it's individuals, businesses out there. We talk about cyber fitness, I think is one term. Tell us about that just briefly to finish, and then what do we need to do about it?
Absolutely. So we regularly talk about cyber fitness rather than cyber security. So
Okay.
think about if you buy a treadmill and you shove it in the corner of your apartment and you never actually jump on it, you're not going to get fit just simply because you bought a cool bit of tech.
Yep.
It's exactly the same thing as buying a new antivirus, installing that on your computer, but using the same weak password for every single account that you use across everything.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same thing. So cyber fitness is about incremental, gradual improvement in your security over time, and then maintaining it over time because things change.
Yeah.
So that's why we talk about cyber fitness. If I was to give one tip today that everybody could do to get a little bit more cyber fit, it would be go in and enable multi-factor authentication, which is a horrible name, but it's basically the security code on either your Facebook or your email or your Instagram, particularly businesses in e-commerce and retailers that have had to go into e-com. Make sure that you're protecting those accounts and just enable it on one thing each day for the next week, and you will be so much more secure.
Awesome. Guys, really enjoyed the first of our conversations. Can't wait to continue developing this relationship. As I said at the start, this is one of the most topical issues that we talk about. It's every week, if not every day, and you're going to be able to break it down and cut through. That's what you want to do, isn't it?
Absolutely.
100%.
Awesome work. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll talk really soon.
Thanks.
Great stuff. Great discussion there. And of course, today's chat was presented by the team at Cinch. And if you'd like to learn more, head over to their website and find out how Cinch will help keep you and me on top of today's threats so that your business will continue to grow tomorrow. I'm Adrian Franklin. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon. I love the tops as well.
Thanks.
Cinch.
We'll be right back.